Guys, do me a favor and watch this clip between Chris, Williamson and Hamza. It's quite a long clip. It's about 18 minutes long. I put it on 1.5 times speed, so it goes quicker. Super interesting. Chris basically calls Hamza out in the best way possible for not being authentic about basically what I'm saying. And it's also kind of surreal for me because at one point towards the end, they're essentially talking about my video and me calling Hamza's relationship advice out and the whole controversy around that. So that's kind of cool. So check it out and then I'll do my reaction to it.
This is an insight from Sam. Given that you've just seen him, I can teach you this one. Sam Ovens was kind of like one of the original personal development wealth influencers. He had this penthouse apartment with a motorcycle in it. I have no idea how he got it up there. All he drank was LaCroix and Quest bars. And he's like an OG of internet marketing. You know, on school.com, which you have a platform on, and Homos he just invested in. And I went to a retreat with him in August last year. And I was asking him why he stopped uploading content. And he said, because I felt like I had to live up to in private the things that I was saying in public. And that made the fucking hairs on the back of my neck stand up. I felt like I had to live up to in private the things that I was saying in public.
Wow.
I really think that you need to be careful about the stories that you tell yourself about things. You know, you say a lot of stuff with conviction, which I appreciate, but you need to fact check your uncertainty as much as possible. Because if you're smart, you can make yourself believe things, right? It's one of the problems of being clever. One of the issues of being clever is that you can convince yourself of stuff that isn't true, right? That's really fucking vicious. So with looking back and going, oh yeah, you know, playing the dopamine game, maybe that was like, it was like cheap or it was tacky or it was whatever. It's like, all right, that's a nice story. But is it true? Like, is that actually what was happening? Or is there a different angle that I can look at this from? And I think that's worthwhile reflection.
Yeah, what you've just said about Sam has, I don't know, it's made me have like an insight. I feel like I don't really even know who I am. Like, I remember speaking to you once, probably around 2 years ago, where you mentioned it casually that I had gotten a great deal of fame and attention when I was still fairly young. You know, I was 22 when I started YouTube. I was 23 or 24 when it popped off and it was on a global level. And I even caught myself a few days ago wondering, like, what do I want and what are my morals and values compared to what I know will get me views on YouTube? And it's very hard to distinguish between the two because it's also my business, it's also my financial livelihood and my family's. And so it's a very difficult game to play when you've got the judgments of thousands of people. And you know, a lot of people think that the hardest part of being a content creator is the hate. I always thought that was the problem I'd have to deal with. The hate is like, it's fine, just close your eyes, just stop reading the comments, it's fine, honestly. But it's actually the positive comments that will steal your soul from you because you're getting the positive reinforcement for a certain kind of behavior from potentially thousands or even tens of thousands of people. And suddenly you start acting like that type of person again and again and again, when that might not have actually been your real value.
Live up to in private the things that you say in public.
You're looking around and everyone's patting you on the back. It's like, well, I'm going to keep doing that thing, right? It's like every pat is like a dose of crack for me. Of course I'm going to keep doing the thing. And it gets years later and you realize, wait, like, I'm not even an asshole. I don't know why I'm speaking like this on camera. I'm actually a nice guy. Like,
yeah, dude, well, let's unpack this a little bit. It's something that I wanted to go through with you. Obviously, been through this sort of recent relationship breakup, and there's definitely been a lot of pivots, like hard pivots that I've watched you make over the last couple of years since we've known each other. You sort of went to Dubai for a little while, dropped that. I was going to go and be a fighter in Thailand. Then you came back. Then I'm in my dad era. I remember seeing a video from you that's like, I'm in my dad era up in the Scottish Highlands, basically completely isolated you and this chick, and then that doesn't work. And now I'm in this next era, like I'm in the money making era, and it seems to me like that's kind of the thing that's captured you a lot at the moment. Like money is the god. Basically, more money is always going to make you better. I've heard you say that desire is good because it creates dissatisfaction, and dissatisfaction is good because it creates success. But it only creates a very narrow band of success. It creates success exclusively in terms of chasing resources. It doesn't take give you peace or fulfillment or solitude that you actually care about. So one of the things that, you know, from a guy that's about 10 years older than you, I just tread carefully with your convictions. Like, I know that what your audience comes to you, and we are often attracted to people that sound like they have certainty. There's a guy called Peter Zion, who's a global geopolitics expert. That guy has the most fucking conviction of anyone I've ever heard. And people pray to him like he's a god because he just says things like, this is what's going to happen with oil over the next 5 years. This is where China is heading and what will occur by 2050. This is the state of the WEF right now. And this is where we can see that they're going, like, it seems like it's caveat. It's like, this is what's going to happen. And people will be seduced by your amount of certainty. It's like, this is what you need to do. These are the steps that you have to take. This is the way that it has to be. But I think the problem you have there is as soon as you posit an ideal, you can then compare yourself to that ideal. And if this ends up being wrong, like if actually the thing that you need to do is become a fighter because fighting men have always been warriors, and then 3 weeks later you're like, I don't know, fighting's not for me. And then it's like, I'm in my dad era, like I can't wait to start, relationship's gone. Like the more hard the stake is that you hit into the ground, the more difficult it's going to be to pull back out. So if I was to give you advice, I think that like treading more carefully and being open and honest about, hey, look, this is what I think feels best at the moment, and this is what I'm experimenting with, and treating things like a game, and treating things like an experiment or a hypothesis to be tested, as opposed to like a commandment to be proved, I think would make life a lot easier for you. And you know, I want to see you do well. I do, but I also can see how you rile other people up. I can see why there are comments on the internet that's like, "Fucking, why would you take relationship advice from Hamza?" Because it was so certain. Like if you'd gone in and you'd said, dude, I you know, everything feels really great with the missus at the moment, and I think that this is what's right, but you know, there's also this that's in the back of my mind. I'm thinking about this and all the rest of it. I feel like you're bringing people along for the journey, but no one likes anything more than tearing down someone that was certain that got it wrong. Right? You know, it's the smart ass in school. Yeah. It's the guy that has every single answer and then he puts his hand up, says the wrong thing, and you're like, yeah, all right, mate. Like, so yeah, I think treading carefully would do an awful lot to just dampen that blow, and it would also allow you to be more open and honest about things, because you're living up to in private what you say in public would begin to converge more, because you will have uncertainties. You will be chronically uncertain all the time. What is it that I need to do? Like, how should I look to move forward? So I don't know, there's some insights.
I fear that if I don't speak with that certainty, that my advice won't be taken as seriously.
That may be true. That may be true. You're not going to be a messiah who comes in and says, well, this water might become wine, and we might turn this fucking like one fish into 5,000, but it might only be 5. I don't disagree, but like, what are you here to do? Are you here to make popular lies? Or are you here to tell people on the internet to track the journey that you're going on? Like, you've already got more money than you ever thought that you were going to earn. You're already more popular than you ever thought you were going to be. So why not have the next period of the arc be, okay, I'm just going to tell the truth? And especially if, as it seems, this is one of the perils of young fame. If you haven't worked out who you are before you have incentives from people on the internet encouraging you to be somebody else, you're never going to work out who you are for as long as you're owned by the people on the internet. So ultimately, what are you looking to, like, you're looking to bring this into land at some point. I know that you want to have a family. I know that you want to get into, like a committed long-term relationship. Like, do you want to continue to play this game where you're like, I'm 36, you become 36, and you're like, I still don't really know who I am. Like, do you really want to do that? Because I don't see unless you begin to be prepared to be more open and honest online, I don't see the moment at which you're able to separate yourself from the content. It's so immersive. You're spending all of your time in the forums. And again, like, for the people that are listening, this is you every single time that you compromise the things that you do or the things that you say in order to appease the people that are around you. And the reason that I can talk about this is because this is what I did for like 15 years, right? When somebody asked me a question, I would not think, what do I think? I would think, what does Hamza want to hear me say so that I will become as high status and popular and well-liked in his opinion? And I'd gotten to the top of the professional party boy industry, the Love Island thing, all the rest of it. But you're never going to connect with the things that you do or the successes that you have in your life because they're not real. They're not you. Like, you didn't do those things. The persona that you made did those things. Like, the persona doesn't receive love. It receives praise. You're always existing one layer away. You're 1 degree separated from your accomplishments and the work that you do. And even if someone says, dude, I love when I did the thing, in the back of your mind, yeah, but that's not really me. You don't see me.
Yeah.
You see the role. You see the fucking mystique. Like, you do not need to see the real me. You do not need to see the real me. Like, that's what you're doing. So it's like, fucking well played, Russell Crowe as Gladiator. Well played, Chris Hemsworth as Thor. No one's applauding them. They're applauding the actor, right? They're applauding the actual character that they play. And that's why people feel hollow in victory or alone in a crowd, because no one sees them. They don't see what they're doing.
The most common compliments I've ever gotten is, you've changed my life. And it's from guys who tell me deep stories. They were suicidal, they were depressed, they were anxious, whatever. And when I get that compliment, it does nothing to me. And I've always wondered why. Like, I don't give a fuck. When someone says this to me, it does 0 things to me. Even any compliment I get with my work, it often does nothing. It only does something because I use it as a way to get status and recognition from other people. It's a screenshot worthy of other people. And I've always wondered why that is. And I think you're so right, because what they're really saying is, like, your persona helped me. Like, cult leader Hamza helped me.
Right.
It wasn't
that's not you. Yeah. And it's, I think for the guys that are a bit older, at least from what I can see, the message is great, the positioning is great, the optics are great, all of that stuff's great, but you wouldn't be working this hard at trying to do personal development if you weren't like tearing yourself up inside trying to find out who you are. So if that's the case, like, what are we doing here pretending that this is a fucking messiah? Like, you don't have the answers, and that's fine. Yes, people will come to you and you're going to grow the platform from that, but I think you have an opportunity over the next few years to really make a hard pivot into, I can be uncertain about things, I can be fearful, I can be vulnerable, I can be open, I can be scared, I can be ashamed, I can be guilty, I can be all of those things, and I can still be proud of myself, and I can still be successful. And I think that you'll really connect with what it is that you do. And this is, again, I'm saying this to you, and you might as well be a mirror of what I'm saying to myself. This great quote from Neil Gaiman that says, the moment that you feel that, just possibly, you're walking down the street naked, exposing too much of your heart and your mind and what exists on the inside, showing too much of yourself, that's the moment you may be starting to get it right. And I think it's true. I think that's the way it works.
Wow. Well, thank you for saying that.
It's my pleasure. I wanted to get this across to you today, because I think that you have the opportunity to be a really good influence on the guys, but crucifying yourself on like the cross of your own platform, I don't know. I don't think that's noble. Like, to do that, to play some like massively, not that you have been, but like some slightly deceitful game for like a fucking decade, and then come out the other side of it and be like, I don't care about it. Like, I didn't feel like it was me. I didn't do that thing. And again, this is every single person who at the water cooler, when asked a question of like, hey, how's give me your opinion on this thing. Give me your opinion on the new Dune movie. And you're like, do you know what it is? I actually really didn't like it. Like, sci-fi it's just not my thing. If Dune's popular at the moment, right? Most people probably want to hear you say, oh, it's so amazing. Oh, wasn't it amazing? Did you watch it in IMAX? Oh, I watched it in IMAX. Did you get Sour Patch Kids? People don't always want to hear what they want to hear. So as a perfect example, I had a text conversation with like someone that previously I would have not ever dared say anything that I thought might have upset them. And they asked me about someone that had been on the show, and I was like, you know what it is? I actually really like him. Like, I think that his takes are great, and this is good, and that's good. And he was like, I think he's a fucking dick. And I'm like, all right, well, like, I quite like this thing he did and that thing he did. And I was like, there is no world in history where that actually lowers this other person's perception of me. That's just my opinion. Like, people don't always want to hear what they want to hear. They don't just want you to agree. They just want to know what you think. Like, they want to know, hey, when they say, what did you think of the Dune movie? Idiots may want to just hear the thing that they can agree to. But anyone that's even remotely insightful wants to go, what did you actually fucking think about that movie? What do you actually think about that creator? What's your opinion actually on relationships? Not what do you think is an acceptable thing that will make you popular so that I can, like, just playing that game. That's not what they want to hear. What they want to hear is what you actually fucking think about something. And that's actually unique. Like, that's genuinely unique because it can't be copied. But people can copy anything if it's just a formula. It's like, no, well, he's not following his instincts. We can just fucking reverse engineer this algorithm.
Well, it's very much like what we were saying with dating women and being vulnerable, showing your authentic side. It's like, maybe I'm still trying to learn the skill of showing that to the world, really.
Well, it's very hard. And God, fucking hell, man, as a young guy who's still, I mean, you're so much further ahead than I was. And it's, everybody in my audience is, like, all of the people that are in my audience are like, you know, there's always those jokes about me at 14, this generation at 14, and me at 14 was like, you know, head to toe in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles pajamas playing RuneScape or something, and like this generation's like, you know, partying in a Hummer or something like that. But it is kind of the same with personal development too. Like, oh my God, these teenage kids that listen to this show or you know, any show on the internet, you're asking yourself questions that it took me to like 28 to even know existed, not to answer. Like, to even know that was a question that you could ask, to even think that truth is something that's important, to even realize that vulnerability and emotions is something that you should integrate, not be fearful of or not hide away, like all of this shit. You're like, wow, that's fucking cool.
For my own personal benefit, what are some questions you think I should ask myself?
If money and status were no object, what would I do? If I was less afraid of other people's opinions, what would I say? What actually makes me happy? Does success make me happy? What is my definition of success? What is my definition of success if money was taken out of the equation? What is my definition of success if money and followers were taken out of the equation? Like, because that's what you're optimizing for. What are the things that I'm hiding from myself? What are the emotions that I'm unprepared to feel? What are the things that I feel the most shame and guilt around? Like, and again, I could be drawing from my own fucking journal here. But I'll send you some stuff that I've written that I think would be useful for you. But those are some, and most of them are you trying to unpack assumptions about yourself. It's like, hey, I think this thing, but I really don't know if I do, and I really want to work out if that's right. I think this thing. Let's stress test it a little bit.
You're also right. I feel like there's a transformation I'm going through, which is to really find myself. Like, these have been some very formative years. Like, you know, I finished university, I graduated, I got into entrepreneurship, but I've done it like psychology.
Shock horror.
But I've been through these last few years with so much change. But whilst it's felt like a lot of people have been watching my every step, so it's like even the way I sit or I walk has been
crafted.
Yeah, it's been crafted for the image. And it's like, do I actually want to walk like with the alpha male body language? Do I actually want to be man-spreaded right now? Or is it just because I'll get like, you know, there'll be a comment of someone saying that my legs are too close together?
Honestly, well, I mean, dude, I'm wearing fucking Crocs and shorts, and I'm sure that there will be a number of people that have got a problem with it. But hey, guess what? That's what I was wearing earlier on. Like, that's what I wear around the house. And I'm absolutely not totally bereft of being at the mercy of other people's opinions. But one guy that you should maybe even do an interview with for Adonis School, Dr. Robert Glover, no more Mr. Nice Guy. Beyond outstanding. Phenomenal. And he has the three constituent parts of an attractive man. And he says, a man who has a mission, knows where he's going, and is having fun while he's going there. It's like, hey, that's fucking easy to do. Like, having fun while he is doing a thing. Like, okay, so he's fully embodying what it is that he's spending his time doing. Like, he's actually integrating that into himself.
I'm getting so many insights. I wasn't expecting this to be like a coaching session.
Well, again, maybe it'll be interesting. We haven't done many episodes where I've opened up, but then I also don't speak to that many people that I'm as close to as you, and also not people that I'm invested in. You know, like, I genuinely do want you to become better. But one of the other challenges I think of young guys is, what does authenticity mean? I've heard these things about what women want or the world, and for women as well. I'm sure, you know, maybe they it's kind of uncool for young women to become mothers or whatever at the moment. It's like, I really just want a family, and I'm terrified if I say that people are going to think that I've like been conned by the patriarchy, or I really want a career, and I'm terrified that the right is going to call me some like wannabe boss bitch chick. So people compromise the things that they want to do all the time. And working out what you actually like, what are you? And I think that this is the most legit criticism that I saw like post your breakup, was that talking about trying to keep an alpha masculine facade, like the James Bond style of talking going, like it just doesn't work. Like it's one of those beautiful things that may work in like theory, but just can't work in practice, because no one can keep up a facade for the rest of their life. So the best thing that you can do is just be as authentic as possible with the person that you meet. And if that involves you opening up about your weird love of manga, or like the fact that you just every Sunday morning, I fucking love watching the rugby, or like I got this weird, I really love going bird watching, whatever the thing is that's your thing, like that is your competitive advantage, because there is a chick out there who would fall in love with someone. They're like, do you know what it is? I don't care about birds at all, but the fact that you're an ornithologist, that you have something, that you know where you're going, and that you're having fun while you're doing it, there is nothing that's more attractive to me than that. And Hormozi says this about Layla, who's like, I'm sure that if she had the choice, I wouldn't wear a vest and shorts to dinner every night. But she is way more attracted to the fact that I do what I want to do, and she can trust that that's what I want to do, than me compromising and doing the thing that she thinks that she wants. Again, like, she doesn't want you to wear what she wants you to wear. She wants you to wear what you want to wear. You know what I mean?
See, with the James Bond thing, I've seen the criticism as well. Maybe I probably didn't word the message as well as I should have. It's not that you should be keeping up a facade with your woman, but rather I think that your time with your woman and with people, you should present your best self to them. I think too often in relationships, people get very complacent. They stop putting in effort for each other. So what I meant was not to be faking some character, some persona, but rather like like my mistake was, for example, when I met my woman, I'd take her out on dates. We'd see each other in this like polarized, sexy time, and I was putting in a lot of effort to be a gentleman. 6 months later, it's like we're spending loads of time together. I'm lying there, I've got like stains over my top. I'm not even speaking to her in the romantic way that I used to. I'm not opening the car door.
Okay, so let's go back to the beginning there. How authentic was what you were doing in the beginning?
I think it is, yeah.
How authentic was that to you? So why did you zero in on something that wasn't that later on? If it was authentic, why did it change?
It depends what you mean by authentic. Because look, is it inauthentic for me to be wearing this jumper instead of like the bathrobe I was just? I mean, yeah, like kind of. I wasn't born in the jumper, but if I came here in the bathrobe, you would have thought I was one of the crackheads on the street, right? So it's like, what's the definition of authenticity? It's like I burp, I fart and stuff. Am I really? It's like, is it inauthentic if I don't do that in the podcast? Like in some ways, yeah. If I'm holding it, yeah, in some ways. But it's like, there's standards.
There's a degree of decorum.
That's it. And so it's like with your woman, I think it's worth putting in the extra effort to keep up that extra, like that level of effort and presentation, because it's what they're attracted to. And also, it's like, why wouldn't you use that as an opportunity for you to present your best self to the world?
Okay, so let's just run this to the extreme. You're a guy or a girl that gets into a relationship, and you just if you're a chick, every single night when he comes home, your makeup's perfect, the hair's done, you've got the boudoir like 5-piece underwear on underneath, and you've cooked him dinner and you rub his shoulders. Like that's making an effort, but it's also setting an unrealistic standard that you were going to have to live up to later in the relationship. The same thing goes for the guy. Like the door is held open, and every single night there's a different playlist that I've curated that day based on my emotions that I feel, and you can pick this however you want. You can do the perfect cocktail of psychedelic drugs because you're like a new agey couple, or it's the rough sex because you're like a very sexually active couple, or it's the gym training session, or, pick the pathway that you have. I think that the thing you need to do is just like try and start a relationship as you mean to continue it. That doesn't mean that you can't put your best foot forward, but people will always feel a change in like an acceleration or a deceleration. And if you've set like she thinks that she's dating like this guy, but when it actually comes to it, I really quite like reading for like half an hour and I need my space, but I've just obsessed her with physical affection for the last 6 weeks, the first 6 weeks of our relationship. And then when I actually want to do the thing that I want to do, which is like, hey, I feel like I'm going to go in the other room and I just want to read. It's like, I sometimes need a bit of space to myself. Like that's cool. If that's part of you, if that is, well, he wasn't doing that before, that is a big fire alarm. I'm really worried that you don't like me because I think you didn't used to do this before. And I'm really worried. And then you have to say, well, actually that is me. That guy is me. And what I did for the first 6 weeks is kind of some, like I sort of shaved that bit of me off. So I understand what you mean. It's a delicate balance between putting your best foot forward and wanting to, like, again, you don't need to talk about your athlete's foot and your flatulence on the first date, but also to be like, hey, look, this is me. Fucking Crocs and bad hair or whatever and all, and weird bird obsession and book reading and stuff. And sometimes I need a little bit of space, but like, that's the person you want. The person that loves that is the person you want to get into a relationship with because it's got the greatest chance of longevity. Because you don't ever need to be anyone else. You just need to be yourself. And I think that is what people are trying to optimize for. They're trying to optimize for that like hyper authentic approach.
I think you just need both. I think it's like what percentage. I remember I actually journaled about this. I said that the problem it felt like in my relationship was that I went to like 98, 99, 100% of the sort of relaxed, this is me. Yeah, I leave shit stains in the toilet. It's like, yeah, sure. And a lot of authenticity, especially in a long-term relationship.
Not in the toilet. Authenticity stops at the bowl of the toilet.
But it's you need the right percentage. I skewed too far to the side. This is why I kind of revolting against the message you're giving right now, because I went fully into the sort of natural, this is just who I am.
You've got PTSD from being a lazy guy.
Yeah, that's it. And I've experienced what it's like showing that side to your woman, but also just to yourself. And I don't like that side of myself. I like having your woman as an opportunity for you to dress up nice and just put on your best foot. So why not turn on like the charming part of you more? And you shouldn't 100%. I'm not saying to fake it. Like I like being authentic, and I'm not saying that you need to do that 24/7. But maybe the balance is somewhere like 70-30, 50-50. When it starts getting 100% or 95 on each side, let's say you're almost faking the charming side of you. Yeah, that's a problem. Or let's say if you're just being like too relaxed, and the only thing you do now with your girl is like you tell her to bring some KFC and come over to your place, and that's all she sees you as. And your hair's getting all scrappy. You've not been like trimming your beard because you've already got her, right? You may as well start bulking again. Like that's a problem as well, because there's another guy who's putting in the effort who will walk past with like a fresh fade with a confidence and nice clothes, and he'll speak to your girl in like a sexy voice, and she's not going to cheat or anything, but it's like you'll probably feel like, oh damn, like I used to be that guy who used to put in so much effort. I used to be the guy who'd flirt with her, and I don't do that anymore. I just kind of assume I've got her now.
That's a very interesting framing to not, and I think that's much more accurate, because like the classic red pill approach would be, and she's going to leave because alpha fucks beta bucks, and like, this is the new guy and she's going to trade up and blah blah blah. And it's like, dude, have you ever actually been in a relationship with a chick for a long amount of time? Do you know the reality bending distortion field that is female attachment? Like it is vice grip, fucking no more nail shit.
All right, so fair play to Chris, man. Fair play to Chris. That podcast, it got to around that 50-minute mark of the podcast, and Chris sort of gets into what you've just seen, calling Hamza out, but he does it in such a great way, man. He does it in a really good way. I mean, he, as a content creator, could just go in and just try and annihilate the guy, right? And talk down on him being the older guy and the more experienced guy, and it's his podcast and everything else. But he doesn't. He does it in sort of a very big brotherly way, right? That's the best way to describe it. He does it in a great way. He does humble Hamza in that way, and he's just straight. He's just honest. It's basically telling him what Hamza needs to hear. And fair play to Hamza, man. He takes it pretty well in the podcast, obviously not, you can see he's a bit uncomfortable, his body language, he starts getting a bit twitchy and playing with the pen and stuff like that, but he takes it well, man. He takes it well, and he has some realizations, and the most profound one was him admitting that he doesn't know who he is. And that's massive, guys. This is a guy who, he's got 2 million followers. He's called himself a cult leader, right? People look up to him, take his advice. He doesn't know who he is. And you know, many people now have seen that and sensed it for a while. I mean, I was talking about this for a long time with Hamza. There's some older videos I did. You know, I could see through that. I knew this guy wasn't being real. I knew this guy, he was trying too hard, this whole masculine thing and alpha thing and everything else. And it didn't feel authentic to me. And it pains me because I am so passionate about helping young guys, young men, especially like teenagers, young in their 20s and stuff. And I've always found that way, even as a coach, even me as a tennis coach, always found myself leaning into giving advice to the younger guys and so on. And when I could sense this from Hamza, like this was a guy who wasn't clear in who he was yet. He wasn't old enough, hadn't had enough life experience, and he had such an audience. It was a bit frustrating to me because people were taking his word as gospel, right? Because like he said, he wanted to be super assured in what he was saying. And even though he wasn't, it was essentially admitting it was all sort of marketing in a way. So it's amazing that he's admitted that. I would be interested to see how a lot of the guys feel that are in his community that are paying like $130 a month and $500 up front, whatever the cost is, and then they hear this guy who they're giving this money to and they're looking up to and saying he doesn't know who he is. That would really be something something to dwell on, right, if you're one of those guys. But he comes out with that and he gives a bit of pushback. They start talking about, you know, the whole episode around being authentic with your woman and so forth, and it was weird because they were talking about my video. I know there was a lot of debate around it and everything, but they must have seen that video. If that's what Chris is referring to, I'm sure he probably is. Certainly, you know, that video kicked off a whole debate around Hamza and his relationship. So that was kind of surreal to see that, and he was giving a bit of kickback to that. And okay, I understand his points. He was talking. He said he was meaning more about keep your standards high and don't let yourself go, which I agree with completely. But going back to that original video of his when he broke up with his missus, that's not really what he was on about. And interestingly, he's deleted that video. I was trying to look for that earlier today and I can't find it. So he seems to have deleted that video from his channel. But he was really, what he was talking about in that initial video was there was putting on a persona, right? This alpha masculine persona to keep polarity and stuff. So I don't know if that's completely hit home, but he made some good points about keeping your standards. I agree with that, but it should all be under the umbrella of being yourself and being who you are. And this is, I thought this was a really big moment, a really profound moment, because for the self-improvement community, because this guy's like the leader, really. This guy's been the main guy, especially over the last 2-3 years. And where's he going to go from here? Like Chris says, you should go with telling the truth now. Just tell the truth. Just be completely authentic. Don't be talking absolutes. This is the way to live. This is the best way, right? This is what I'm trying, guys. This is what I'm doing right now. I've got some ideas. I think this, and let's go along for the journey and stop trying too hard, and just ask yourself the deeper questions and try and become more aware of who you are and lead with that. That's where I hope he goes with this, because this is what the space needs. This is what it's crying out for. It's not the Hamza fanboys are crying out for that. It's not we need Hamza to be authentic. It's none of that. You young guys don't need that from him. You just need the space to become that, because it's become very obvious to so many of us that these guys are just full of shit, right? And they're just bullshitting their audience and they're conning their audience and so on. And people are trying to live up to this ideal that they're creating, and they can't do it. And it's causing problems amongst the audience. It's causing problems amongst people like Hamza, who doesn't know who he is. Can you imagine his audience? So I really, really hope, because he's got such a massive platform, man, and he's always going to have a bigger platform than me. And I hope he sees this. I hope he sees this. I hope he takes on board with Chris and everything else, that figure out who you are and lead with that. Don't be ashamed of that. Whatever that is, just go with that. And you can still be on self-improvement. Of course, self-improvement means you're not happy with things and you want to improve, but you do that with your personality, with your character, and exposing your flaws and showing that you're on a journey. That's the important thing. That's what this space needs. It doesn't need this archetype of Adonis, this perfect man. No, it needs you as a human being with all your strengths and all your flaws on a journey. And don't walk behind me, walk beside me. This should be his message going forward. So it's going to be super interesting, and it was an interesting podcast, really interesting. It was almost like a little therapy session, and I don't hate Hamza. I don't hate the guy. I'm not a hater. I said that before. I respect the guy. He's done some great things. He's so far down the line in terms of self-actualization. At 26 years of age, God, he's miles ahead of me when I was 26, and when he gets to my age, he's going to be way past me and everything else. He's going to get there. He's going to get there, and we should maybe not cut him some slack, but you know, videos like this, I'm not trying to shit on them. I just want this whole community, this whole sphere that we're in, right? Just different voices, different opinions, and we're all trying to come together in the same thing, and that is ultimately all trying to better ourselves and cheer each other on. But that starts from the top down, right? And you know, best of luck to him. Best of luck. I hope he goes there. I hope he takes on board everything Chris said. I really hope he watches this video as well. I know he watched that other video I did. Yeah, and takes it all on board. And man, if Hamza, if you are watching this, reach out. You know, let's have a chat. Let's have a chat, private. Not even on this. I'm not trying to do it for views. Let's reach out in private. Let's have a chat, man. And just from a guy who's 10 years down the line and married and kids and so on, and been through all that identity crisis and all that. That'd be cool. But anyway, guys, what did you think? What do you think? I hope you made it this far. Let me know what you think of the clip and everything else, and with Chris and my opinions. And yeah, love to you all. Thank you.